I'm Marina Go. I am a full-time company director, non-executive director. I sit on a number of commercial boards, and I also chair a not-for-profit and a sports board. My entire executive career was in media, and I transitioned about 2.5 years ago.
So how important is your ethnicity to how you see yourself and how you like to be seen?
Oh, my ethnicity is really important. I actually think it's been a positive differentiator for me, to be honest with you. Because I'm Eurasian, and I was born in Australia.
Of Italian and Chinese parentage?
Yes, so my mother's Italian, my father's Chinese. And because I guess I've grown up in Australia, I went to school here, I feel that my friendships, my networks are the same as everybody else, I guess, you know, in that there is no differentiation in terms of my ethnicity. However, I know I think differently, I know that I see things differently, and given that diversity is a real gift actually in an organisation, I often think it's the reason that I find myself, even when I was an executive, thinking differently, I think, to the people around the table.
So when you look more broadly, do you think discrimination is alive and well in the Australian workplace?
Yes, I think it's unconscious bias largely. There is definitely racism, clearly there's racism, but I find that in my experience there is a lot more unconscious bias. And so, you know, people assume that because they have an Asian friend or they know somebody, that they're not racist, or they're not, that they're not thinking, although they feel like they're thinking fairly. But I just know it's not true, and I think the problem we have is that we don't have a history of having measured any of this, and so a lot of it is gut instinct. But I think if you look around, all you have to do is look at the numbers and know that there are some really talented, skilled people from an Asian ethnicity, but also other ethnicities, who really should be in senior roles or sitting around board tables that haven't had the opportunity.
So how do we change that? How do we address that unconscious bias?
Well, I think organisations, for a start, need to be aware of it. So I think that in the way that I think years ago organisations became aware of the fact that they were sexist, that it was really difficult for talented women to succeed. They had to really unpack what that meant, and in terms of the way that they would organise themselves. You know, guys going to the pub for a meeting, that didn't work for women. So maybe we need to think about the routines, the meeting, the ways that we meet, the way that we speak, our expectations around how other people might contribute in terms of ethnicity.
Do we need quotas? Do we need targets? How do you make this a conversation?
Well, I'm a huge fan of quotas, particularly for gender. So, you know, I've been saying for a very long time that I didn't think that we'd achieve anything like gender balance. We still haven't, but we're on a path without quotas, unless you actually have somebody in the box seat to make decisions who is very aware of that. And I know that it's a cliche, but if it doesn't get measured, it doesn't get done. That's my view, and so therefore quotas are something we should definitely consider.
Why do you think it is that we've made quite significant progress with the glass ceiling and gender balance, and yet the so-called bamboo ceiling is not even on the agenda for many companies?
I think there's a couple of reasons, but I think primarily because with women, there's been a groundswell of feminism, I guess, a female uprising for many decades now, and we've been very good, I think, at shaming the men. To be honest with you, the Asian community, again, they're not going to shame anybody. That's not how they work in their culture. It's a different level of respect, and so I think we have to be mindful of that. We're now aware of the benefits of diversity. So we should be mature enough to extend that to other types of diversity.
Do you think Australia is racist?
Do I think Australia is a racist country? I think that there is a lot of racism in Australia, absolutely. And unfortunately, you hear it with politicians, you hear it with community leaders. There are people who are openly racist, and so therefore, if they feel comfortable being openly racist, then we clearly accept that as a country. And so, yes, I mean, I think on balance, Australia is a racist country.
Which then leads to the question of, can we break the bamboo ceiling
in a racist country? Yes. Look, I think it's difficult with the undercurrent of racism, certainly. But I guess the positive is that in my experience, the better educated, the more experienced and worldly a person, the less racist, I think. So there should be no excuse for bamboo ceiling within sophisticated organisations. And if we start there, then at least that can lead the change. And there's always the laggard group that come through, and that happens in any cultural change or any societal change. But I believe that business has a duty to lead the change.